So my name is David Berman, and I'm one of the curators of the Warsaw Ghetto Museum permanent exhibition. I work in the scientific department, and I'm also associated with the collection department, especially in the items to do with Judaica, Jewish traditional religious items. So first of all, we have to ask ourselves, why do we need Judaica, these Jewish religious items, in the museum of the Warsaw Ghetto? And there's two reasons. And the first reason is that it was very much a part of Jewish family life before the war. To show what was lost in the war, we are going to have a gallery explaining something before the war, to give some sort of background, to give some sort of view of what was like before the war for the Jewish people. And these items, many of them were found in Jewish homes or in Jewish synagogues, and it represents a broad section of the culture of the Jewish people of Warsaw and of Poland in general before the war. The second reason is that it's a well-known fact that the Germans, when they captured Warsaw, captured Poland, they put the Jews in the ghetto, one of the first things they did was to steal all their possessions. And obviously items of silver or gold were top of the list, and this happened throughout German-occupied areas. Therefore, it's relevant to our museum as well. We've built a very strong collection of Judaica, some of it dating back to the late 1700s until wartime, 1939. And primarily, almost exclusively, the objects are from Poland, Polish production, but that includes areas where what was then Galicia. So the items relating to Poland were actually taken by Polish Jews to America in the turn of the 19th, 20th century, the beginning of the 20th century, when the massive wave of immigration. And they stayed through with the families till now, and they're sold off at various times. Also in Israel, there's a similar sort of story. There are objects that were made in Poland that are located in Israel amongst the families, and at certain times they're sold off. Two of the more interesting items that we have from the recent purchase are two Hanukkah lamps. I should mention, to start with, what is the idea of having objects made of silver or gold? This is not something, it's very common, but it's not something that's for someone's own personal status or a show of their wealth. Rather, it's based on a verse from the Torah, from the scripture, that says, roughly translated, "This is my God and I will glorify him." So one of the ways of, based on this biblical verse of glorifying God, is anything to do with religious worship, that it's a practical object, we try and make it the best way we can make it. So if you've got the budget, make it in gold. More common, in silver. And the general, many things were also made in brass and lower quality materials, because the people didn't have the money for the home. But generally in synagogue, where it's a collection of money from the whole group, from the community, they could afford something nicer, and they would endeavor to make the best possible example they could, the most beautiful possible example they could. So the two items that we bought in the recent sale, one of them is an Art Deco style candelabra, the more traditional candelabra, which is one of the most iconic items of Judaica that there is. It's internationally recognized as something to do with Judaism. And it has 8 branches, obviously. And in every night of Hanukkah, one light is added until at the end of the Hanukkah, the end of the festival, there's 8 lights. The second one, the second type of lamp, is a different style. It was very common in Galicia. And on the second type of lamp, you'll see that there's, in addition to the 8 holders for oil, 2 branches for candles. Why is that? Because these type of Hanukkah lamp were many times designed with dual purpose. Every week, every Friday night, in the household, the woman lights 2 candles for Shabbat, for the Sabbath. So you could use the same lamp the whole year round to light the 2 Sabbath lights. And on Hanukkah, on the bottom row, you have the 8 lights for the separate ceremony of lighting the 8 Hanukkah lights. First candlestick has a 9th branch on it, because when we light the 8 candles for the holy lights, that we shouldn't derive benefit from the 8 holy lights that we light on the menorah. There are also much larger synagogue candlesticks that we light at Hanukkah time symbolically, But that is just as a remembrance of this holiday. The main thing is to light in the home, the family together. It's very much a family celebration, a family holiday. One of the most basic and common forms of Judaica that is found in every Jewish house is some form of silver cup or some form of decorative cup. It has used on many different occasions. The main one being on Friday night to bring in the Sabbath, the Jewish Shabbat. We say a blessing on wine. The father of the house, the woman of the house, doesn't matter. But somebody should say a special prayer. It's very short, holding a cup of wine. And we drink this wine. It's a symbolic thing to start the meal, which starts the Sabbath. So everybody's got this. Even the people that are not so religious, it's a custom that's maintained. It's a traditional thing for many generations. They remember their parents, their grandparents did it. It's a very common thing. Obviously, the same rule applies, that how nicer we can make it, how much more we can invest in it, not for our own arrogance, our own benefit, but to make the ceremony beautiful, we do it. So that's why many of them are decorated silver. Very rare is there a gold cup. It doesn't make it extremely unusual. But silver is very common and always was. And the cups we have were all made in Poland. And we have a very interesting cup. We actually have two of them. But one we bought in the recent sales, that's called a Shmira cup. Shmira means protection. And there was a custom by the religious Hasidic Jews when they would travel to the rabbi, and these rabbis were considered to have wondrous powers. Besides being very wise people, they could have a power of blessing, and it was a very big privilege. And people that needed help would go to these rabbis in various locations, and many times the rabbi would give a silver coin as a good luck charm. That you should be blessed, you should have good luck, take this home, put it away, and you will be blessed. Symbolic. So after some time, a person who would go to his rabbi again and again, he would have some collection of silver coins. And many people would take these coins and make from them a small silver cup. So it's essentially a cup for the same purpose, for wine, but it was considered to have a special holiness because it came from the coin that was given by this rabbi, this great rabbi. Another cup that we bought, fairly unique in the recent sale, which has a slightly different purpose. Like we mentioned, that the Kiddush cup is to say the blessing on the wine when the Friday night starts, to begin the Sabbath meal, and to start the beginning of the 25-hour period of Sabbath, from nightfall to nightfall. We also have a ceremony, a very brief ceremony at the end of the Sabbath, which is called Havdalah, and we say a blessing on the wine to start the new week with a blessing on the wine, and we have some spices, some sweet-smelling spices, and some candle. It's a 2-minute ceremony, 3-minute ceremony, but the cup we bought actually has an engraving on it that's relating to this ceremony. So it's obviously a cup that was reserved specifically for this ceremony. Although you could use any cup, but someone had invested the time and the effort to have a specific cup to beautify this ceremony. Outstanding piece of synagogue Judaica, which is common until today, is to decorate the scroll of the Torah, the scroll of the scriptures, with a cover usually of velvet and decorated, and on top of this we place a crown, a silver crown, or sometimes it's gilt, gold plated with silver together, many times heavily decorated. And when we take out from the place where we keep the Torah, take it out to read it on the Sabbath or in the middle of the week, and there's a little procession around the synagogue till we actually get to the location to read it. So these crowns are placed on it. Also, when it's kept in the Aron, which is the cupboard where we keep the Torahs, they usually sit with the crown on them, and to beautify it, because this is our most holy physical object in Judaism, is the scroll of the Torah itself. That's actually a Warsaw production from 1800s, and it's fairly rare. I have seen in recent years one other example auctioned, but it's fairly rare. And all of these figures, whether it be animals or decorative patterns, is pure decoration, purely to make it beautiful and interesting, as a work of art, rather than deep symbolism. It's decorative, but it has the added aspect that when you're taking out the Torah, you can hear that it's coming. So I can assume if you're down the back talking when you're not supposed to be, and someone pulls out the Torah, you know it's coming. Actually, there is, in the time of the temple, the high priest in the temple in Jerusalem in ancient times wore a clothing, and on the hem of this clothing were bells that you could hear him coming. And so it's possibly some significance in that. But the bottom line is decoration. I should say the whole team has made great effort to search through the whole world over several years to build a very strong collection of Judaica. And it is something that will really catch the eye of the visitor to the museum, and it will set the tone for without anything that's to do specifically with theology. It's more to do with custom, but the custom that includes the religion, which was a basic part for people, and it's not exclusive to Jews. There's many people like this in the world. They have traditions from the parents, from the grandparents. How much you do, how much you don't do, how much you believe, how much you don't believe, is not that relevant. It's something that is part of the life. And what we want to do is show the Jewish life before the war, that we can make a comparison to what happened in the war, and how the Jewish life came to an end in the war, and specifically in the Warsaw Ghetto.